Hi, everybody. Welcome to Eating Peace this week. My goodness. Hello, hello. So, a little passage from Byron Katie. This is from her book, Loving What Is. It's the story you tell of the wart that keeps you from loving it. The wart just waits for a sane mind to see it clearly. It doesn't do any harm, it's just there, like a leaf on a tree. You don't argue with a leaf and say, hey, let's talk. Look at your shape. You need to do something about it. You don't do that. But you focus here on the wart and you tell a story about it and you repulse yourself. A wart is God, it is reality, it is what is. Argue with that. So we know what it's like to argue with what appears to be the wart of our bodies. There they are showing up this particular way. Whatever I see in form, and I hate it, I'm arguing with it. We also do this with our actual behavior. You're eating, you're in a void, you're kind of doing zombie eating. We feel taken over by the urge, craving. And then afterwards, the assessment, the snapshot of this eating moment is also a wart. I hate it. Just look at yourself. Look at that horrible thing, the way you're acting, the thing, this nutty eating, isolated eating. Many people have shared with me how they feel during this pandemic is even more isolated than ever, and more than ever, like there's eating happening, consuming, getting up, sitting down, getting up from the table, going to the refrigerator, looking in the pantry, this kind of incessant eating behavior. They're not busy with other things. So in a way, here it appears more clearly. So if we were not arguing with that behavior, not arguing with the body appearing as it is, noticing that these are pictures in the mind, what I've experienced and done in the past, what I've done in the future, but just to really find that moment where I am watching this behavior happen. In my mind, of course, as I think about it, sometimes there's a commentary running as we're doing it. Look at yourself. I can't believe you're eating. What's wrong with you? Look at you go again. Didn't we just decide to stop? Even with that chattering happening and those voices, what if you had just a drop, just for a moment, of curiosity about what's happening? Well, I wonder what's going on. Instead of the conclusion that we always seem to make, which is there is something wrong. This is worth arguing about. This is gross. So ugly. Wart. Get the poison to kill it. Let's cut it off. Need to change it. What if instead of having that almost immediate sense of wrongness about it, we became so curious? And the way to begin that, even a drop of curiosity, is to just say, it's okay that that's here. It's okay that that's here, that behavior has happened. In fact, how fascinating, how interesting that it's happened. I want to turn my attention to understanding this behavior. In fact, I almost have no choice. I am turning my attention towards this behavior, this off balance, wild behavior that looks weird, it looks compulsive, it doesn't look balanced, it looks like too much and then not enough, and the mind activated and running. Looks like something's wrong. Looks like a wart or something worse. I wonder what's happening. I wonder what's happening. Many of us have maybe heard this before, and we have been asking ourselves that But it's always with the notion that I have to figure out what's happening because it is so wrong. How interesting to consider. It's not the end of the world. It's not the most devastating thing that's ever happened. It's not as dramatic or catastrophizing or uh, horrendous or awful. I know it feels awful. It feels difficult. It certainly did for me when I binge ate, but I had gaps in between binge eating. Some of us will say things like, I used to, I've been eating all day long, or here we go again, a few days of freedom, and then here we go again on another binge. And it will dismiss all those moments in between and dismiss noticing that we are actually surviving it, except for in the mind, the emotional hurricane that's happening. We're all right. So, welcoming this idea of a huge storm happening internally, just watching that that's occurring. Can I let this be here? Allowing it to be here, even welcoming it that it's here. It has an important message. Perhaps I haven't been listening. Perhaps I've just been saying no, trying to kick this feeling out, shut it down, destroy it. Hate, destruction, violence, fury. Not that there isn't a place for anger, but we get so stuck in it. Can I welcome that this is here? So the next time you notice a craving appearing, something's like that movement, I think I'll go get something to eat. Instead of the immediate, which often happens with any of us who are at odds with what is at odds, don't like it. Is it okay that the feelings and the thoughts, I don't even have to know all of them that are happening, are here? Because they are. Here they are. They're here. As immature and babyish and ridiculous and hard or frightened as this appears to be, noticing pictures of food or ideas about running to eat, and just all that disruption. Often, as so many of us know, that disruption was before the food or craving ever started, before there's a thought about food to soothe or fix or manage or control or shut down that disruption. So first, welcoming a craving, welcoming an idea about eating, binge eating, overeating, continuous eating, graze eating. Wow, there's something really unsettled here. There's something really disrupted. What am I thinking and believing? What am I thinking and believing? Maybe all I've got is I'm thinking that getting some food would be a good idea. I wonder if I welcome that, I go, okay to be thinking getting some food, even though I'm not hungry, is a good idea. Huh. I wonder what would be going on that I'd be thinking that. What's happening there? Now just let that be here. Let it be here. Allow it to be here. We have like this dictator inside that's like, I'm gonna enforce all the rules about what is or is not okay. Just even to sit for 5 seconds with disruption, unease, I don't like it, war, it's wart, it's a wart, it's ugly. And just watch like you're watching a movie. Even just waiting for 5 seconds, we can notice something shifting. It never stays at the peak of a 10. It feels like it's building when we resist. Wow, I have a thought of food, but I said I wasn't going to overeat. I wasn't going to start on that. I wasn't going to eat that thing. all that, tight, tight, tight. Even just letting it, okay, wow. And just let that be here. I wonder what's going on. Letting the disruption run. I don't even have to figure it all out. I have to have my psychological answers to it. Letting it be here. Letting it be here. Waiting. Waiting doesn't mean holding very, very still, or holding your breath, or laying on the floor passively. Just noticing I'm interested in understanding and seeing what happens without following the compulsion. I'm curious about that. I'm curious about it. And just watching all the pictures and chatter and sounds and freaking out. And just noticing it's possible to be still from the activated, the action, the busyness. I mean, do we do every single thing that we think? The mind is saying, you should do this, you should do that. I've got an idea. How about this? Oh, what if this happened? What if that happened? Good news, bad news. It's constantly, and we don't do everything it says. So let's just letting it talk instead of being so afraid and gripped and worried. Oh my God, I just had a thought about eating. I wonder what I need. I wonder if I could take a deep breath. No strategy needed necessarily. No big, complicated, complex thing to wonder about. Just relaxing, looking around, holding still. Deep breath, allowing it all to be here as it is. It sounds so simple. It sounds ridiculously simple. It may be far more powerful than you've ever realized. Far more powerful. I couldn't believe it when I've noticed, watching and looking and seeing the contents of the mind and not thinking, I have to act on that. I have to do that. I have to believe everything that's running through this mind. Is that true? No. Who would I be without that story? Who am I without the story? Quick, emergency, do it. Picture, craving. Who would I be without that story? Who would I be without that story? What is here without a thought about it? Welcoming all the thoughts as they come in. Welcoming all those warts, those things that we think are ugly. So, seems so simple. Just being willing to slow down and stop can bring an incredible awareness. Not a control to make yourself and force yourself stopping. It's just noticing you actually may want to stop. That might be the place that is of the greatest ease. It's kind of hard to be overeating and grabbing and binging and concerned and weighing yourself and then dieting and doing extreme things with food and eating. It's difficult. It takes a lot of energy. You're very aggressive against the moment. I hate the wart. I hate what it's doing. I hate what it looks like. I hate this experience. A lot of aggression. Could there be another way? Yes, there is. Because if it takes all that energy and all that aggression all the time, it's constant war. It's going to be too exhausting. So just noticing, just letting that stuff be there. Watch. Storm, there's a storm here. There's a storm coming. There's a storm happening. And can I just sit, deep breath for only 5 seconds and see what happens? All right. Let me know how it goes. Lots of love.